the velvet curtain of the elite and the late train of the disenfranchised. This world has always operated under a cruel and hidden contract. It is an agreement never signed on paper, yet it binds the fates of billions of living souls. This contract clearly dictates who will write the rules of the game, and who will bow their heads in obedience until their very last breath. When children born at the bottom of society accidentally step through the gilded doors of the upper class, their worldview is not merely shaken, it is shattered, pulverized, and completely collapsed before a naked truth. We do not live on the same planet. The most ruthless global economic reports point to a chilling reality. The top 1% at the head of the food chain is monopolizing twice as much newly created wealth as the remaining 99% of humanity combined. This disparity does not merely lie in the soulless numbers within bank accounts in tax havens. The most terrifying gap, the secret weapon that helps the elite maintain their dominance from generation to generation, is the gap in the perception of time. An average laborer often carries a cyclical tragedy within them. They must usually wait until the age of 35 or 40 to vaguely see through the deep laws of society. They pass through their youth with an innocence meticulously molded by the mass media and education systems. But unfortunately, at the exact moment the truth dawns in their minds, they have already been pushed to the very brink of the abyss by the reality of life. Mortgages, medical expenses for aging parents, and the ever-rising tuition fees of their children form invisible iron shackles that lock down every movement. They understand the rules of the game only when their vitality is exhausted, leaving them without a single piece of armor to struggle or resist. At the completely opposite pole, heirs born into luxury are inoculated with this cognitive vaccine from the moment they first totter into their 20s. Their family dinners do not revolve around complaining about rising gas prices or expensive groceries. Their conversations are lessons on the flow of capital, the manipulation of mass psychology, and the art of bending regulations to optimize profit. And the most important thing that constitutes their ultimate privilege is the privilege of being allowed to fail. A young master can throw millions of dollars into a whimsical startup project, fail bitterly, and then brush it off to start anew with a light smile. A poor youth whose startup fails will carry a debt that tears apart their own future and that of their family for at least a decade. The inheritance of the ultra-wealthy is not just massive real estate holdings or corporate shares. It is the cold intellectual crystallization passed down by many previous generations. They spread a perfect logical trap to lull the majority of humanity to sleep, making the poor believe that wasting money is the greatest sin. But the bloody truth that few realize is this: the most brutal waste, the thing that strips away a person's only chance to turn the tide, is time. Whether awareness comes early or late is the blade that decides one's destiny. When you realize the nature of the game only when your hair has turned silver, it is no different from laying your back down to sleep, only to have to jump up because the sun is already high. You will have only enough time to scrape together a meager bit of capital before being pushed straight into a battlefield filled with the sound of artillery. He who charges into a fray of swords and spears without armor. If he does not become a meat shield, then who else would? The cruelty of society is also sophisticatedly disguised under the cover of noble skills. In the peak of their youth, young people from ordinary backgrounds rarely understand the ultimate power of money. They refuse to train their ability to solve pragmatic economic problems. Instead, they obediently plunge into meaningless trends designed to drain their life force. They believe in slogans about pursuing passion, living for the moment, and shopping to affirm oneself. Youth is inherently the most precious strategic resource. Men at this age exhaust their strength, contributing to corporations for meager wages. Women enjoy the courtship of the spotlight of beauty. Both genders squander that priceless resource unconsciously, like sleepwalkers holding a diamond in their hand, but mistaking it for a piece of candy. By the milestone of 35, the illusion shatters. Men begin to taste the bitterness of losing their competitive edge in the labor market. They are easily replaced by younger, cheaper, and more submissive generations. Women realize that beauty cannot pay medical bills when parents begin to fall ill. Children grow up, bringing with them a series of massive costs like invisible blood-sucking machines. Only then do both men and women startle awake from the dream of youth. Only then do they realize that possessing the capacity to generate money is a matter of life and death. But alas, by the time the alarm clock rings, they are already a full decade behind the elite. The distance to catch up has become a vertical, slippery cliff that cannot be climbed. Look at a cold, real-life picture. A story that once left many silent because of the harsh truth hidden within. A mother from a common working-class background leads her child through a magnificent shopping mall. Her eyes happen to catch a delivery man in a sweat-soaked uniform. Taking advantage of a few short minutes while waiting for the next order to pop up on the system, he sits down at a public piano in the middle of the lobby and begins to glide his rough fingers over the keys. A piece of classical music rings out with a smooth melody and masterful technique. People around clap in appreciation. But as soon as the music ends, a phone beeps. The delivery artist hurriedly grabs his helmet, bows in apology for the disturbance, and rushes out into the scorching sun to deliver a lunchbox on time. That moment was like a bucket of ice water poured directly onto the poor mother's mind. She suddenly felt a breath-taking sense of loss. A brutal truth was exposed before her eyes without any cover. The children of powerful dynasties study piano, chess, calligraphy, or painting to cultivate a dominating aura. Those skills are ornamental jewelry for a foundation of power already built firmly with blocks of capital. They study art to know how to enjoy life at the summit and to communicate with other powerful individuals at private parties. Meanwhile, poor children are forced by their parents to learn those luxuries in the hope of changing their lives. But in reality, they are becoming tasty bait for the brainwashing education industry. Training centers constantly paint brilliant visions to extract the last hard-earned pennies from the pockets of ordinary parents. Those children grow up to be, at best, low-level office workers who occasionally know how to play a sad song at a company party. Or they become poor designers who understand Western art history but always live in fear of being fired at the end of the month. Their only commonality is that they all become wage earners with a bit of artistic talent, forever trapped in the cycle of trading part-time labor for existence. Noble skills only truly radiate a halo when they are placed upon an unshakable material launchpad. Without money, a person who knows how to play classical piano is just a poor soul who knows how to create melodious sounds to entertain the public for a few short minutes. It does not generate power, it does not produce food, and it absolutely cannot become a shield when the storms of life strike. After that fateful day at the mall, the ordinary mother did something that many around her criticized. She immediately withdrew her child from all piano, chess, and calligraphy classes. Her awakening shattered the rosy illusions that the marketing system had implanted into the brains of the middle and lower classes. She bitterly realized that these courses were merely tools for others to get rich, while the dreams of changing one's life through artistic talent were just a cheap sedative. She decided to return to the most primal essence of life. She taught her child the most pragmatic survival skills. She taught the child how to read people's intentions, how money circulates in society, and how to protect the fruits of one's labor from exploiters. This is the structural tragedy of ordinary families. Children born under corrugated iron roofs always have a perception of the world far inferior to the children of merchants or politicians. The reason is simple. Their parents are also drowning in ambiguity, shrouded by the darkness of ignorance throughout their lives. They work like unmaintained machines, only knowing how to repeat the chorus of advising their children to try and memorize lectures at the podium to have a stable job later. That is all they can do, which is a form of hereditary helplessness. In a system designed to protect the privileges of the few, a stable job is essentially just a monthly ticket to board a new type of slave train. For a common child to break free from the gravitational pull of the societal bottom, they usually must rely on one of three brutal factors. Either they must possess an intellect so sharp it is anomalous, or they must encounter a stroke of luck falling from the sky. Or, most commonly and painfully, they must experience brutal upheavals early on. They must witness the world's contempt and see loved ones waste away because there is no money for treatment. Only that ultimate pain has enough power to tear through the curtain of delusion, forcing them to awaken while still very young. This world has never operated on fairness, and kindness is not an amulet that helps you avoid hunger. Behind the friendly smiles on the media and behind the promises of equality are economic gun barrels pointed straight at the pockets of the naive. The sooner you strip away this mask of illusion, the better chance you have of turning the wheel of your fate. When the skin on your face begins to wrinkle, and when strength leaves your body, you will have to swallow a bone-chillingly cold truth. In this impermanent and money-reeking world, kindness can be betrayed, and promises can turn to ash, but the money sitting tucked in your own pocket never knows how to lie. The blind person who voluntarily wakes up when the sun is at its zenith will never suspect that they are merely a bloody brick, carefully paved under the proud footsteps of those who finished building their castles the night before.